everyone, it's Daria. Welcome back to my channel full of lit, and today I'm going to be embarking on a very exciting and long overdue journey. I'm finally going to be reading An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Over the years, I have heard countless amazing things about this book. It has been recommended to me time and time again, and yet I never got around to it. But all of that is about to change because I'm participating in Penguin Teen's Ember read-along. This video is actually sponsored by Penguin Teen, so thank you to them. I'm going to sit down in one spot and I'm not going to move unless for basic survival needs. And I'm going to get through this bad boy in one go. Now, I don't know how I've managed to be a part of the book community for so long and still avoid spoilers for this series. The only thing I know about this book is that it is dark and gritty, and I'm always seeing Sabaa Tahir tweeting about hurting her characters. So I think it's time that I stop talking and get to reading because I've put off this book for far too long, and I'm not going to do it for a second longer. Okay, hi, hello, it's me. I'm back, and I have just finished the first part of An Ember in the Ashes, and I don't know what to think. Let me just say that this book is a lot darker than I was expecting it to be. I know that I said at the start of this vlog that I knew it was going to be a dark, gritty story, but a lot of the things that are mentioned so casually in this story, for example, slavery, rape, prostitution, it's talked about so flippantly in this world because it's so ingrained into this world's society. But it's really jarring, and it's not something that I would expect from a YA fantasy at all. I have to admit that between the two point of view characters, Laia and Elias, I was preferring Elias's narration and his story a lot more. We got to see this very restrictive, oppressive government and empire. We got to see the way that these people think, the way that they train, their inhumanity, and there's something very, very fascinating about that. Although I have to say that I think Laia's POV is going to intrigue me a lot more now that she's actually a spy within the empire and in the commandant's home. Elias intrigues me so much because he's such a contradiction. When we first meet him, he doesn't want to be a part of his family legacy. He wants to run away from the empire. He doesn't believe in the cause that he was born into. And yet when it comes down to it, when he's at the graduation ceremony, he doesn't run away. And part of me is wondering if he cares more about the glory and his family's pride in him than he does about doing the right thing. Laia's issue is that she's a coward. Like, she says it herself. That's not an insult. She is afraid of everything. And that's entirely understandable given her family history and the world that she's grown up in. But for me, Laia learning to become courageous and believe in herself at this moment is just not as intriguing of a storyline and potential character development as what I'm seeing going on with Elias. I just love it when fantasy in particular explores this idea of personal desire versus the greater good. Also, Elias's crush on Helene is kind of weirding me out right now. I know from the fandom that Helene is like a villain or an anti-hero. People have mixed feelings about her, so I'm just very hesitantly watching Elias develop feelings for her. I'm kind of side-eyeing it. I don't trust it. I don't trust her. I am listening to the audiobook and kind of flip-flopping between the physical and the audio. What is it with fantasy audiobooks and everyone who narrates them having a British accent? Like, I know it's fantasy, it's not a real place, it's not a real world, but why is almost every damn fantasy audiobook that I've ever listened to narrated by a Brit? Why is that? Is it because British accents sound fancy and fantastical, so that's why they're used? I don't know. I would like it to be explained to me, please. Okay, let's chat. Because I'm halfway through the book and everything is happening so much all at the same time, and I don't know what to think or how to feel. Let me just start off by saying that the world that Sabaa Tahir has created is so dark and brutal. There's constant threats of physical violence, sexual violence that are just casually thrown around like it means nothing, and it always keeps you on the edge of your seat and keeps you filled with tension. And even if the violence isn't explicitly acted out on the page, you still feel fear. character, and you feel the threat all the time. Also, every single character that appears in this book, whether they are main or supporting, is wonderful to read about because they are so complex and flawed. I was just so ready to dismiss the cook as this random background character, and then she comes out and threatens Laya, and then tells her that she used to be part of the resistance, and that she no longer believes in the cause, and she almost frantically, desperately, violently warns Laya against trusting the resistance, and it was just such an interesting way of making what seemed like a throwaway character an actual person. And it's this kind of attention to detail, this sincere attempt of making what seemed like a background throwaway character an actual human being with thoughts and problems and beliefs, that makes this book so intriguing and makes Sabaa Tahir so damn good at her job. Now that I'm already talking about characters, let's go ahead and allow me to tell you my mixed feelings about pretty much everybody in this book. Elias, still love him, but I have to say that in this second part so far, Laya's story is taking the cake. I know I just did like a complete 180 from what I was saying in the beginning of this vlog, but as much as I love all the hard, fast action in Elias's parts, I have to say that the simmering tension that is always present in Laya's part of the story just really intrigues me more. Now on to the romance, or should I say romances, because everybody has a crush on everybody. I fully expected that Elias and Laya are going to get together, but now I'm starting to doubt it. Every time that Elias is with Helene, he feels this really strong pull towards her, both emotionally because they've known each other for so long, and he's also developing a really strong physical attraction to her. He also was completely struck by Laya's beauty when he first saw her, so I don't really know how I'm feeling about either of those ships, Helene and Elias or Elias and Laya. I'm kind of like neutral on both, but you know what ship I do like is Keenan and Laya. There's something about Keenan, there's something about that man that just does it for me. And the thing is, Laya likes him too, so I'm not just coming up with this crack ship out of thin air, okay? There is documented evidence of their attraction on the page. When he came up behind her and grabbed her and was like, someone's following you, and then they were talking and conspiring together, and I'm just like, okay, like, okay. Like, I don't know what to say, there's something about that man. Alright, I'm back, I'm in a new room, and I only have 100 pages left of this book. So updated thoughts. Elias, amazing, incredible, love him. Laya, amazing, incredible, love her. Helene? When she saved Laya, it was a really interesting moment because she pretty much physically put herself in danger because it seemed like she was draining her own life source to bring Laya back to life. And she was also using her power, which she is so terrified of and doesn't even want to acknowledge. But at the same time, she didn't do it out of a selfless obligation. She did it because she knows that Elias has feelings for Laya. She doesn't recognize Laya's humanity. And even though I don't have a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings toward Helene, I can absolutely respect and appreciate the emotional weight of Elias having to look across a battlefield, see his best friend, and think, oh my god, I have to kill her. That moment of the third trial when both sides realize what they have to do. You have to either kill people that you've grown up with, that you've come to love and see almost as family, or die yourself. And it was a really interesting moment for Elias's character because he doesn't even want to be a part of this group of people. He doesn't see eye to eye with them, and yet he can't help himself from caring about them and grieving when he has to kill them. Things are heating up between Laya and Elias. I am now 80% sure that that is where the story is headed. I don't know why I even doubted it. They're the two main POV characters. They're on the cover together. Like, of course they're gonna end up together, but I just can't help but feel bad for Keenan. I really like Keenan. I selfishly want him to end up with Laya, but I know it's not gonna happen, so. This is really unusual for me. I don't tend to ship non-canon couples. A lot of times I'll go into shows or books and I'll already know what the canon ship is, so I'll stick to that only. Or I'm just really lucky and the ship that I like ends up being canon, so I'm very upset right now. I just read the part where the cook explains the history of the Jinn and the Nightbringer, and it was really fascinating to hear about how the scholars who are currently being subjugated were once oppressive and antagonistic themselves. I just think that story further complicates who we see as villains and heroes in this story and makes it that much harder to like choose a side, which I love. So I'm going into these final 100 pages not really knowing what the heck is gonna happen, although I'm guessing that in terms of romance, it's gonna be Elias and Laya. I don't know if she's finally going to break out her brother. I don't even know if he's alive. Is he alive? I doubt it. I don't know who's gonna win the trials. I don't know who's gonna be emperor. I don't know. And I'm not going to guess because I'm notoriously horrible at guessing endings. So I'm not even gonna try it. I'm not gonna do it. So I finished An Ember in the Ashes, and I was 100% right when I decided not to even try to guess what would happen because there is no way that I would have even come close to what went down in those last 100 pages. Sabaa Tahir, I don't know how she does it. I don't even know if I want to know how she does it. I just want her to keep doing it. I finally understand what people mean when they say that Sabaa Tahir is so good at making her characters and her readers suffer. What she pulled with that last trial, that was the workings of a mastermind. I spoke about this earlier, but what I really love about this story is that there are no good guys. Sabaa Tahir does not allow for any one of her characters to lay flat. She does not allow for any of them to be wholly good or wholly bad, and that is just so refreshing because I feel like so often in the media that I consume, people are okay with just regulating characters to certain archetypes and not fleshing them out beyond that. She puts more thought and effort into her supporting characters than I've seen some authors put into their main character. And of course, Sabaa Tahir couldn't just stop at having amazing character work. She had to go a step further and have an amazingly paced and plotted novel. The last 50 pages of this book was just plot twist after plot twist and revelation after revelation. The fact that the Commandant knew that Lila was a spy and was using her to feed information to the Resistance and get them to do exactly what she wanted, you have to admire how good of a villain this woman is, because it's going to make her takedown that much more satisfying. Also, we have to talk about Helene. The way that Sabaa Tahir has jerked me around with this character, I do not know how I feel about this girl. When she revealed that she spent the entire trial just struggling to make sure that Elias would be the one to be the emperor because she knew what a horrible monster Marcus was. Leading up to that revelation, all of her speeches about upholding the empire and doing things for the greater good just sounded like BS to me. But with that final revelation, everything about her character and the choices that she made throughout the book suddenly made sense and made me empathize with her. I feel like Laya's arc is going to really take a lot more time. She started the novel as this fearful young girl who would cower in a corner, who had no ability to defend herself or her loved ones. And at the end of the novel, we see that she's starting to understand that she has to be the one to go after what she wants, that she can't wait around for someone to save her. I feel like she's going to have more of like a slow burn character development, so I'm waiting on it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I have to say that the most disappointing thing about this book, and the one thing that I just couldn't really get on board with, was the romance between Elias and Laya. And before you say anything, no, it's not just about Keenan, even though I still kind of hold a torch for him. I really like Laya and Elias as individual characters, but for some reason when they come together, I just don't feel it. I am not invested in it. I think I would have preferred if they just stayed friends in this book and sort of built a bond and eventually became romantic later on in the series. I've noticed lately that romances in YA fantasy just aren't really working for me. I wish that their romance had been more of a slow burn, had taken its time over the development of a few books, but it's honestly such a small qualm. Like I said, I love them both individually as characters, and I'm sure that as I keep reading, I will come to like them as a couple. Maybe I'll never be totally in love with that ship, but that's fine. So I guess that's it. That is 446 pages read in one day. I'm so glad that I participated in this read along and finally picked up this book, and I need to hurry up and go read the sequel as soon as possible. I was actually just checking Overdrive and my library has the audiobook for A Torch Against the Night available as we speak. So I'm going to be downloading that as soon as I turn off this camera. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know if you've read An Ember in the Ashes and what your thoughts are on the book. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. So go ahead and check those out if you would like, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!